Welcome back to the Cantina and our immediate reaction pod for episode 3 of the Acolyte, Destiny.
Right when we're all like, they have a total naming convention that's like locked in.
Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. I'm like, clearly this is wrong. Because usually they also don't like to show you the name of the show, or the name of the episode on Disney Plus immediately. Like, that they hide it for a while. It's just an error. I'm sure tomorrow when we look at it again, it'll be like Destiny / I don't know, Fate. I don't know.
Right.
Destiny /
not
Destiny. What's the opposite of Destiny? Free will. Destiny / free will. I mean,
that actually would have applied to this episode.
Yeah, free will, major theme.
Yeah.
But if you've seen this episode, you know that means we're going back to Brendok 16 years in the past.
Yeah.
And exploring all the mysteries of May and Osha and a coven of witches.
A new coven of witches. The witches of
led
Bartok.
by Jodie Turner-Smith, who is just incredible in this episode, and I got very emotional like several times. But I don't know about you guys, but this is like the most feels I think we've had in the show so far. It was like
feels and
just
other stuff. Yeah,
I was just like, I was crushed. Like there's so many crushing lines and just beautiful moments. I was like, this is incredibly tough, emotional stuff. And she just did it.
I'm angry. I am so unbelievably furious.
About what?
And I think based on what I said last week, I have to now stop watching the show because they did exactly what I didn't want them to do, which is not tell me my Wookiee story.
You're like, where's Kelnaka?
Denied the basic fan who I think all of us became after episode 2 when we saw them tease a sort of Wookiee story.
Yeah.
Yes. Literally watching the previously on.
And then, nope.
Oh my gosh.
Nope. I was watching the previously on and I turned to Carly and went, I'm not getting my Kelnaka story tonight.
Poor Adam. Poor white man doesn't get what he wants.
Here's what all joking aside, I am so happy.
Dude, we might get it next
really
week.
Fine. Like
we can still get it next week.
We'll get it. That's thank you.
You just took off your Wookiee
second friend / someone who had to tell me that tonight. Carly was just like,
you're gonna get it next
week. Of course, next week I'm going to be on vacation and I'm going to be watching it on an iPad in a bed while my 3.5-year-old's probably sleeping next to me. And I'm watching it on like dimmed the thing dimmed all the way down and the volume way down. So that'll be the optimal way to watch my.
We
Wookiee
all face
story.
challenges.
But anyway, life I have it really hard is what I'm trying to say, and I want people to understand my struggles. No, but I was a little at first disappointed, and then the way the episode unfolded, this is the one I think it was necessary because the first 2 episodes really kind of threw me with how I think part of it was pacing, and it's not a negative, but it kind of was like whip snap, like this is happening, this is happening, this is happening.
Fast.
It's a lot, plot. And then this episode slowed right down and told a linear, coherent story. I mean,
the other one's coherent
except towards
too,
the end,
which
we'll talk about.
Yeah, the arson stuff. I was like, wait, I didn't see. There's certain things I just didn't catch there. That I was like, wait, how did this explode so quickly? Like, what's happening? So pacing. We'll talk about.
That's what happens when you light a Jedi text on fire. It explodes.
Apparently, so we'll have to tell a story from someone else's perspective. Maybe next episode, maybe later in the series. We'll see. But yeah.
Oh, you're right. That'll be next week. That'll be May's POV. And then you might get Kelnaka.
Okay.
Wait, we're not going to rash him.
And Kelnaka dies in the first scene. Right? Just like he gets taken out by like a strafing shot from a starship.
They cut back and he's already just laying dead on the ground.
You'll get nothing and like it.
But we got a lot of Kelnaka.
Poor Kelnaka. A fun Kelnaka fact: we got no Wookiee translations in this episode, which I really liked.
I'm
pretty sure he just says
never translate Sherwook.
I see kids.
Yeah,
that's all I would say.
I don't know. Did either of you guys watch it with subtitles this time or no?
No, I didn't.
Yes, always.
So did you see what he said? Or it just says Wookiee roars?
No, because the subtitles just say, I will say this for the subtitles says speaks in Sherwook. So I'll say for the subtitles,
A+.
Spot on.
Did they spell Sherwook correctly?
Like actual language.
That's impossible.
They did.
That's not true because it's impossible.
Also,
like
I wouldn't
spell
know.
It, 2 eyes, 2 eyes.
Yeah, 2 eyes, a couple
looked
K's.
right
I
to
guess
me.
I don't. Yeah.
Anyone's guess.
Yeah, man. I love this episode. It made me feel a different kind of way than any other Star Wars has ever made me feel.
Yep.
And I can't wait to dig into it. You know, so the last couple of weeks we went linear. I started taking notes and I'm like, heck no. Like I don't want to waste time not being glued to every plot point and detail I can see. Yeah. So I didn't want to write anything down. Did either of you guys?
Yeah, and to timestamp it, no. And to timestamp it, we're recording a half an hour after.
This is the other one. Yeah, the last ones we had
right?
days. I literally watched them 3 times. Like that's the most I think I've ever watched anything in preparation for a podcast. And then this time now this is fresh as fresh. So do you just want to fire stuff off?
Sure.
Cool.
Pretty cool to see Force users outside the Jedi, like a coven, like collective of Force users. I thought that was super cool.
Yes.
Like, and I thought it was really well done in that, like, Ahsoka with the sort of the night troopers and some of the magic used there. I was like, I like this a lot more. I thought it was just the magic, like the Force energy just worked for me. I don't know. So I just thought they crushed it in terms of like introducing us to a new faction.
Yeah. I was a little surprised at the word witches. Coven, I was like, go on. And listen, I love witches. They gave Donald Trump COVID. I love them. But I kind of wanted for a little more special name for it to be like, but wink, they're witches. I guess she just had to be like, they're witches. Just believe me. Like, if you've got a coven, you're witches. Like, you could call yourselves
right. But you felt like the Force was flowing through them, whereas, like, I don't know, it's a lot of, like, external magic being thrown around with the, like, the other sort of, like, with the magic that the Night Sister magic.
Yeah. They have, like, their own kind of version of it. It's like the weave.
Don't you just...
Like very actual
the
Robert Jordan.
Thread, right? Yeah. They call it, they keep referring to the thread, right? You pull the thread, the thread. The thread is capitalized, by the way, in subtitles, like the Force is capitalized. So, so, I mean, I kind of assumed that these are, because they talk about being banished in this episode. I assume they're an offshoot of Night Sisters. I assume they're a sect of Night Sisters that got kind of kicked out of the
I didn't think about that at all. I hope they were like just witches on a different planet and got moved. Like there must be multiple like witch covens in the galaxy. Like, come on.
I would assume, but if Star Wars taught us anything, it is that they do not like to branch out to other things.
That's such a cynical point of view, Adam.
That got banished. What would teach me to be cynical about
just because all the witches we've seen have been to other Mary. Okay.
When we were first introduced to Cora and Mother,
I'm happy to be wrong.
I thought they were like Jedi who had left the Order.
There you go.
Began their own like society of Force use.
I love
something,
it.
And I was like, this could be a cool story. But then like they just explored that this was its own unique coven, I was like, this is very cool as well. And I like that I guess are on the move. They're kind of they're moving from they left their last planet, were forced off it or something, and then they're now here, and it's kind of like an on the run sort of situation. And I just thought it was so good. Like I loved it. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. No, it was. I loved
cool
everything. That I won't just give all the credit to Leslie Headland. We'll just call it the royal they. For everyone that worked on this, that like the story and like all the definitions, like how they use the Force, these like weird trials, their chants, like very unique, very fun. It's a brand new sect of
like the giant EU drop that she was talking about. I feel like shout out to Leslie Headland for just like basically doing the whole Plagueis Palpatine, Anakin creation,
right?
Like Force stuff, like that stuff is in this episode, and it feels so EU, or it feels like something that they wouldn't maybe adapt in the new storytelling. But
Lucino would do something like this. He'd be like,
this show,
he's cool. like creating life with the Force is a thing. Like he would use that. He'd be the kind of guy that'd be like, yeah, big swing, like Lucino. Headland's like, yep, I'm going to use that. I'm going to do that.
And this is also like, you're telling me, like, could this be a link to like someone learning that knowledge, right? Like I think that's expressed in this episode. Like at some point, I believe Korra says to Anastasia that, "What if someone discovers how we did this?
Yeah.
How
Yes.
you
How you
created
created
carried
them.
them? Like
How
what if
you
someone
created
discovers this?"
them.
To me, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
the connection to Plagueis and Palpatine, and like however we get there. Like to me, that's how they learn that sort of magic or that force ability.
Is it possible? So my thought was, I watched the episode, and at the very end, they decided to cut back at the very, very end, last smidge of a scene. They cut back to May, standing in front of the tree, going Osha.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird scene, right? Because you're like, yeah, we're like, we know she survived because we've seen her in the present, right? So then my brain was wheeling a little bit of just like, well, so this show is all about mirrors and about similar things happening to these twins. And so we saw the light side users come for Osha. I'm wondering if users that came for May, and that this is the master.
That's the other side of the coin.
That's the other side of the coin, and that's what led to their death. It's not the Jedi. The Jedi didn't kill them. The fire didn't kill them. This dark side user killed them, because like lighting a book on fire and throwing it at a door does not lead to the massacre that we saw. So something is still untold in the story, and
they
I think
were
it's
clearly all dead before the ceiling had caved in, or like the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Were they dead? Because that's also unclear. I really want to talk about
that's also a good question. That is a good question.
I think it was just wonderfully directed and acted,
written.
Great, except the pacing at the end. I just want to like touch base with you guys.
I think that was.
I think she reaches out to her mom, but Soul is like, "No, we got to keep going." And she doesn't. There doesn't look like there's any rubble on her body.
Like just go take a pulse. I mean, I think we're led to believe that he was like scared, and he's like, "This place is collapsing. We need to get out of here."
Yeah.
And like that's why that was the rush. But it was. She's like, "We need to go back," and he's like, "No." And it's like, well. You probably should go back. Like, yeah, didn't you guys leave a little early? That's my only one like critique where I'm like, well, on the Jedi in Galaxy, like, come on, guys, like you could have done that, but that's not enough for a dude to take the Baresh vow. Like something else happened there.
Right. So here's the thing. We saw Torben be possessed.
Yep.
We saw for a split second. I still have a feeling that what we're dealing with is mind bleepery and possession. And my thought is that if he was corrupted, quote unquote, by the dark side, and he was the one that massacred all of them, that you could still forgive him, right? You could still bring him in and be like, no, you were possessed, you were taken over by and the Dark Sisters did this. We saw it, but in reality, it's a dark side user. Yeah. So that's my theory, is that he slaughtered them all.
We have to start taking prop bets before the pod, because I saw that and I was like, Adam's gonna jump all over that.
Yeah, that's actually great. Yeah. Now that you talked about May's point of view, I do have questions about just how that fire intensified so quickly. And maybe what happened out in the hallway.
Weird. I don't know how stone.
Maybe there was an alternate source of fire.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The book.
Yeah. Maybe May overloaded, but I like the idea of an infiltrator, like a third party there. Oh, well, fourth party, I guess.
Yeah, I love it.
But I
love that Torben's there, possessed,
happy,
May, and then he does something badly.
It wasn't May. It was the grandmother that possessed him.
But maybe May
was the grandmother
Can anyone
She's
do that?
She's clearly strong in the Force.
Maybe. I mean,
she's pretty adept.
She clearly is. We also know that May went through the ritual, whatever that ritual is, and Osha didn't, right? And so we don't know what that ritual does.
Though
right?
confirmed my head tattoo theory.
Yeah.
One has the tattoo, the other one doesn't. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. I thought of you when I saw that too. I will say, I'm loving the show. Now I'm 3 episodes in, and I was a little took me a while to like really zero on the show, but I'm enjoying this. It's clearly a mystery show, and they're doing a job, but they're not withholding in a frustrating amount. Does that make sense? Like I was happy with everything they gave me in this episode. I was happy with everything they withheld. I
agree. I do think that all the framework is coming together quite nicely. I do have questions about Torben still, though. Like I don't understand the poison yet.
Yeah.
No.
And I think that's
there's got to be
exactly
another scene. There's another part of that coin.
Yeah,
there's still a lot missing. Else. There's still more to this flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't say we thought we were doing the right thing. What was the right thing they thought they were doing? Testing the kids? We don't know.
Testing the kids just does not feel like a transgression.
Okay, so this is I want to talk about this because this dovetails in with what Adam's saying, and I think this is the point that maybe you're getting at, or is there? But it's the favorite part of this episode, and and what definitely puts it just like so starkly different than all the other stuff. The way that they weave the two stories, like. I expected them to kind of demonize the Jedi a little bit, which they did through a lens that she created. And it was like, the Jedi actually, if you didn't see the other half, like if you didn't see the interactions between any of the witches of Bartok, it would slide into any Star Wars you've ever seen. It would look just like, of course the Jedi would say that. They're the good people. They're coming there to help them. They're just giving them a choice. She didn't write the Jedi in a demonizing way at all, yet you felt threatened by them. They were the monsters in the woods, right? And then you see the other side of it where it's just like, they don't really know what the deal is. And they're like, they're going to steal our children no matter what. But then it's the wise old grandmother comes over and is like, we could just say no. And it was, and then they were like, oh, we didn't think about that.
Lie. Yeah.
But, I think what she was insinuating by we can just say no is, or we can refuse. She said it better than me, obviously. That if they refuse, that'll pick a fight. I think that's what she was trying to tease out. And then we can just fight them because they wanted to preemptively strike the Jedi and wipe them out.
There's a weird line kind of related to that Indara says, and I didn't write it down, so I apologize again because I was just watching it the first time. But she says something along the lines of you must agree that the Jedi have the right to test children.
Yeah, and then she brought the Republic.
But wait. But hold on. Yeah, if you agree to that,
yes. So
it's such a weird line where I was just watching it. It's like you have a choice. You have to agree we are allowed to do this if you say we're allowed to do this. It's such a weird line.
Yeah.
It was such a weird line where I'm like, that means nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But there's something going on with that. Yeah. I'm almost there.
It was invasive running in the background. It was also but maybe it was her trying to offer up free will to,
right.
the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know, and they do this all over the galaxy. They're kind of there are kids in places that maybe they want out of and they feel threatened or they don't want to be a part of it or something. And this is a refuge and a safe place. And it's also a incredible upbringing and sort of discipline and lifestyle. And Ben, what you're hinting to is just also what I marveled at about the episode is just Leslie Headland's ability to sort of give us these two lenses upon which to look at the Jedi and look at sort of a more insulated sort of worldview of sticking with familial ties, and then one looking outwards and exploring free will and looking at the Jedi as heroic and again it felt like it was almost like Broom Boy vibes. It was just I felt a really clear message in just how they were depicted and as just purely heroic, which I loved. You guys know that. Yep. It was incredible, to see just how they interact, and it was kind of a lot of the dialogue has been sort of just on the nose, and they are just explicitly saying their motivations and what they feel at the time, and so you're learning a lot about the Jedi.
But it's a very mature thing for an 8-year-old to be actually, I'm looking inside myself right now, and this is how I feel, despite the way that's very you don't get 8-year-olds do that much.
No, and I think so. A couple of things. I've always been very conflicted about the whole Jedi child stuff. And as I think most people are, and not in a conflict I think it's bad, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And I think this episode did such a good job of handling that in a way that it was just no, I'm cool with this. I fully believed if the blank didn't hit the fan that they would have taken Osha and left May. I felt like that's probably what would have happened. They would have respected the decision of the children of that. Part of what I run into, and I've tried to talk myself away from, is in this episode, they asked an 8-year-old to make a decision about the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Right.
But
now, granted, the child's connected to the Force and is much more mature, and there's like, you could argue there's the Force stuff going on there. But what else, Ben?
I mean, in this instance, I'm like, no, I think that's pretty accurate. Like, I felt that, like, from the early scenes, it wasn't much of it. It was like a scene and a half between Osha and May. Osha knows May is a sociopath. That thing with the butterfly. And she just wants to get away from that sociopath. That's what I think's going on. Like, she's... and the witch and all that. But, like, so, I mean, part of her gripe is, like, why are we the only 2 kids? Like, when she finds out there's other children, other places that she can hang out with, she's like, oh, my God. Because the only person her age is a sociopath, and she's just trying to live her best life. Am I wrong?
Sure. No, I think you're right, and I think it's a... No, I think you're 100% right, and I think the storytelling helps quite a bit in this, right? Because by the time you get to this point, it feels like Osha's being rescued, right, by the Jedi in a way, and asking for it. I also think the other thing that makes a ton of sense is aging them up, because, like, I think of Soul saying, like, I was a 4-year-old. Like, imagine doing the same
8 years old is a magic number,
and making them 4. Like, you can't do that. 8. I know, and so it connects to that as well. So it makes a ton of sense. And no, I think, like, this is the first time we've actually, apart from like episode 1, which is its own thing, that we've actually got actual story of a child being taken by the Jedi, right? And I think it was handled masterfully, where I'm just like, I'm with it throughout the entirety of, and like you said, Ben, I'm with everyone's perspective in it, which I appreciate.
But they are a little terrified.
Is she taken or rescued? Like, it's unclear. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they think everything's been destroyed.
Well, even if you're rescuing someone, yes, but I meant before that. They were gonna take her.
If she wanted to do it and the mom allowed,
she asked to go. Yes, if she asked to go, okay. Still, nonetheless, taking her. I'm not saying taking her forcefully or wrongfully, but like, okay, they're going to pick her up, put her in a ship, and fly her away. Is that better? Like,
I was ready for that low hanging scene of just her naming off everything that's going on the data pad, and I was like, just power level 9,000 stuff. I was like,
it was that because she was like saying different things than what was there, even though she knew what it was. I love that he caught her in the lie too. That was such a fun scene.
It was so good.
Yeah, she's like that was not a mountain. And that was good times.
I appreciate it.
Man, that was, I don't know, all of just the way that they did that. I thought was
it also
fantastic.
captured like the childhood dream of being a Jedi, right? It was like, I want to be a Jedi.
I was there with her.
Yes. Like that was the moment where I was like, your tear ducts go wild in that episode.
Yeah, and I feel like Soul sensed that he's like, you want to hold my lightsaber, which is gross. But you know what I mean?
That was
like,
a weird scene.
No, I thought it was cool because because like everyone, like she's looking at him through the woods and she's like, oh, do you think everyone gets a lightsaber?
I was scared.
Like, I would be.
She was going to activate. It was like very Porg-esque. I was like, is this going to be activated in the wrong direction? I was terrified.
Yeah. Don't give that to a kid.
I was the same way. I was just like, it's weird handing a weapon to an 8-year-old. I guess it's a shield. The other thing, it's a shield that can take your head off. The other thing that was weird about that scene, that was the most, I will say, that was the scene I bumped up against. I felt the most writerly because like literally, why can't I think of her name? It's Coral.
Coral? Yeah.
Says,
Coral.
Mother Coral says, shut your mouth or else, shut your mouth or I'll slit your throat. And he immediately reaches for his lightsaber.
Yeah, poor timing.
Yeah, and like has a look on his face. And I'm like, so that was weird. That was very weird. Because either one of two things happened. Either he really reached for it defensively and angrily and then like
I meant to
pivoted.
Do this.
Right? So, which I'm like, maybe there's that. Or he's just like, oh, this is a good idea. Someone just threatened me with physical violence. I'm going to reach for my gun. But again, remember we talked about, I just remember in the last episode, right? We had in the last episode, right? Or the first episode of the season, we had, I can't remember his name now. We had the other Jarl.
Yord.
Reach for his lightsaber. Right? Yord, right? So we have we have this weird, a couple things
Trigger
have happened so far
Jedi.
where someone reaching for the lightsaber, trigger happy in a bad moment, even if it's not meant to be conveying that. Like, I feel like this is like foreshadowing Some real nasty stuff.
Yeah, I love that when they came in, it's like, you come before us armed. And it was like, you never really think about that. But, I mean, there is precedence of Jedi have to relinquish their lightsabers.
Well, Obi-Wan takes an arm real quick in the cantina.
Real quick. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That was like not even a bar fight. That was like a bar quarrel. And he was like, I'm going to take your arm. He's just like, fling. But, whoopsie daisy.
The arm.
Was that your arm on the ground?
The arm has a blast. The arm has a blaster, though, right?
I don't think so. Didn't they just maybe?
Yeah, he's got a blaster like coming towards Luke or something.
Oh, all right. Well, it's got a. There you go. That's fine.
Well, there you go.
Listen, I never doubted my man, old Ben, for a minute.
I will also say his lightsaber is not tuned up because there's a lot of blood on that floor, on that ground, for a weapon that's supposed to cauterize. So I think he hasn't tuned up his lightsaber in a while.
I'm sure they move quick. They're Jedi reflexes. You know what I mean? These are people who are like crazy reflexes and are tuned with the Force. They're not normal. You know,
right? That's that quick twitch that they're developing over time. You know, I mean, it's usually just sense danger is what like you believe. Like,
for Soul, it could have been defensive, but again, he was grabbing the saber to give it to it was just confusing. I was like, okay, it's threatening for
it's weird.
a second, and then it's this gift to the kid. I was like, really?
It was fun. That was a fun moment. We're gonna go back to that and be like, that was awesome. It was fun. Just for that dichotomy.
At some point does say that like the Jedi view them as dark side or something. Like,
yep. Yeah.
Yes.
They think our abilities are unnatural.
This was the other thing I want to say. Huge win tonight for Grey Jedi boys. You finally got your Grey Jedi, and they're women. I'm excited about that.
I'm sure they'll be fine with that.
Sorry, it's my personal vendetta against the Grey Jedi trolls online that are just like, but like, what if I could have like both powers? Like, I don't know. It's my own thing, but it does seem like
Qui-Gon or just Jedis who dissent from the Council. Like those are to me like in my mind, my headcanon, like great Jedi.
Love that.
They're like
that so much. I just think like we don't really know yet if they're light or dark. I mean, and I'm sort of leaning towards are probably dark side users with the whole creation of life thing, but they're like they believe they're using their power for good. It just seemed a little weird. They're like, no, we don't use the Force. And then she proceeds to use the Force to like push her friend back like 6 feet. And
I thought that was cool. I thought that was like Force pushes over and over again, which I was like, let's go.
Yeah, but she was just like, we don't like the other breath sounded very Nihil, like they abuse the Force, but we like use it the right way. And then she uses the exact same way as Jedi.
Wait, that's also a Force like tattoo essentially, or brand
Force tattoo. Add it to the list.
It's May's head. That's new.
Force tattoo.
No, we've never
Don't
seen,
forget
Force
that one.
Branding, tattooing, markings.
And is it all their history or something built into that like codec or whatever? I don't even know what.
Maybe.
That is, really.
I like that.
Love it.
Yeah, Ben, I was similarly trying to figure out like what is she saying? What does she mean by this? Right? We talk about the thread. You pull on the thread. There's an effect to that pull, and I think she was kind of demonstrating that, right? That they don't not use the Force, but understanding that everything is connected, and by pulling on the Force, you have an impact. It is a different flaw. And I was like eating it up because I just love it. I love when we have different Force users, and I'm like, yes, this is like, and they just have the different thoughts and opinions. And I kept going back and forth, and I think I landed on I absolutely loved the way they did the Coven ceremony, like the Dark Mass, because I'm like, it felt very much like I was watching like someone's take on Macbeth. Like just the witches, and I'm like, you know what? They went for it. Like it
felt like Suspiria at times. It was like contemporary dance. I was like, this is great.
That's exactly why I was totally on board. You're right. It's Suspiria all day, every day, which I'm like one of my favorite horror movies, the original Suspiria.
That's what it was like.
So, yeah, totally.
There was a great moment during the ritual where I felt like I was like there was some yelping in the crowd, and it was
there was.
Yeah,
it was
there
cool.
was.
I loved it.
There was the designated yelper.
Yeah.
She yelped twice.
I was on board. It felt like primordial and like different connection to the Force, and it didn't feel like dark side necessarily, but it felt like I don't know. It was like something different.
Classic motif of a witch or a witch coven, sort of like being very open and au natural, and sort of like connecting to nature and themselves and sort of
How old do you think they are?
channeling.
Like the
witches,
what,
the witches of Bartok.
Like the individuals, like how old do we think
they're all kind of the
like,
same age-ish, and they were
Yeah, I see what you're
banished
getting
an
at,
undetermined time ago.
undetermined
We
time?
get a kind of long history, and
I could see
and
them.
then she's like, and then the Force gave us these children.
Yeah, I see them like Bene Gesserit very much, using the Force or what have you to promote long life. Yeah, no,
All right. I remember.
She doesn't call it power, like, we have this power or this ability, and it's a gift. She calls it a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I think you do see that there is a bit of sort of power hunger in what they are practicing, but at the same time, it's also just feels like it's just as it should have just as much a right to be a sort of major, religious faction in the galaxy. And I don't think the Jedi should have jurisdiction over, what they do and stuff like that, or take their kids. Like that was
taking their
strange,
kids is a
honestly.
lot. It's just like they just want to be left.
But then they
alone.
like explicitly are like, we do not take kids, and I was just like, okay, like I don't know if we need to even say that. Really,
I know, like they were invading too much, right? Like if a population you go into, they're like, we don't want it. Get out of our population. We don't want to be like have your like that should have been enough. Like the fact that there was walls around their kingdom and they were like, don't go past these walls, and they did. That's not awesome. That's not awesome.
And then walked in during what was clearly
like a
one of
ritual,
the most a religious ritual to be like, okay, that's not cool. Like I don't know. It seemed like we had plenty of times we saw them like, I don't know, having dinner. Maybe like knock on the door then and be like, hey, dudes, can we talk?
Yeah. Obi-Wan would have been like, all right, let's go to the bar.
Celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right. So one thing I noticed, I think, so what? All right. What is the mother of May and Osha's name? Anybody?
Well, which mother? The one that carried them, or
mother
that raised
Cora carried them. Mother Anastasia created.
All right. So Anastasia
created.
I think when she was talking to the kids and she used that parable of the thread. I think she's talking about the cosmic force. It's sort of like that was what you were talking about, Grant, with when she's talking about, predestination in the force.
Right.
Used the right word and I used the wrong word, but and I think that's kind of fascinating. I think she's like, all right, you chose instead of like, we could be in harmony, or you can pull on the thread, and you're deciding to pull on the thread. I think it was a very touching scene.
I thought it was a kind of beautiful echo to what was going on with May and Osha in the beginning when they were by the tree, when Osha's like, you take things too far, May. Yeah. And then the mother at the end is like, you want to pull the thread. Like you basically want to take it want to stretch it to as far as it can go. And, you don't know what's going to happen. You might go out of balance or something. Is maybe the fear.
Yeah, like if you think of the force as a loom, and it's like if you can pull threads like over here and over there a little bit, but if you pull too hard, you'll snap the thread, and then that could lead to chaos. Yeah,
that's why their force push sort of ritual was interesting, because it's like they pushed each other back and forth, and like. Then it dissipated or something, and they were very like they just kept the force in check, and understanding it's a sort of chaotic sort of system upon which to shift the galaxy, in certain events. I just love this episode. I thought there was a lot going on. I want to watch it again. Like this is an immediate reaction pod, so like I'm sure we're gonna dig into this episode a couple more times, especially because it's a whole new faction that we didn't really get I just want to see the faction again and again, and see Cora and analyze her, tattoos, and like just be like, what's going on here? I want to know about all the different witches and what's happening in this coven. You really didn't get a name for the coven, essentially.
I'm naming them the Witches of Bartok because that sounds like a pretty cool name.
The Witches of Brendok.
Oh, Brendok. Sorry, Bartok. Yeah. Brendok. My bad. Thank you for the correction.
Brendok.
The Witches of Brendok.
Brendok Witches also sounds good too, but the Witches of Brendok.
That'll fit better on a softball T-shirt.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually really glad they did the jump back here. In like, I think if we had one more episode when they kept referring to what happened to Brendok and not showing it, it would have felt frustrating. right? And again, they have not showed us really what happened. They still haven't showed us what happened, right? They really haven't.
Yeah.
I think it had to be the card flip after a Jedi poisons themselves. I was like, okay,
Yes.
I need to know
Yeah.
what drove Jedi to.
But this is like a magic trick because we think they gave, like, at first you're like, oh, they gave us, and then
They
you're like,
really didn't
no,
give us anything
they
we didn't
didn't.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't
Like
give
you
us the
said, there's
Torben,
still
the most dramatic thing.
no, there's
trying to
no
understand.
still zero explanation for why Torben would willfully kill himself over this and take the bear's vow, which again I love.
Yeah.
I love it. I love this because you're like you feel satisfied, and yet you're like, oh, they didn't give us anything.
I'm hooked. I have to keep watching until I understand why he did this.
The other wild thing is like the time delay. It's like, congratulations, Osha, you're a Jedi. Great. She does 6 years and then bails. Like, not immediately. She does
this
6
is another
years and
huge
bails.
pacing thing I have. Okay.
Yeah.
So they say she's mourning. She's in a state of mourning, and then she will never feel bad about it ever again. I guess Soul says to her at one point.
Yeah, that's a lie.
You'll never
feel this. You'll never feel this way again.
She never really could get over this incident. Or I guess it's the fire and everything haunts her, and that's why she left the order, essentially. But I didn't really get that in this episode.
Yeah.
I almost needed extra beats of seeing May fall, or I don't know. I just didn't. I was like, is it this? I almost didn't see anyone die, and maybe they got out, and well, she was just rushed out so quickly that I just didn't understand. I don't know. I guess.
I don't know. I guess I feel like it makes sense that she, her entire good reason, she saw her, sister fall into a pit of fire, or presumed. What was really interesting is I feel like what Master Soul was saying is I'm going to teach you to lose attachments, and that's why you'll never feel like this again. That felt to me like his promise at the end of just I will make it so you're never attached again, and therefore can't feel this sense of loss. You're well. That's my weird thought of just this is the attachment bind of the Jedi.
Yeah. It's why there's a super awkward hug.
Yeah. It's so awkward
at the end of the episode where he's like,
sorry, I stole
you're very
you.
sad. Yeah. I can sense you're sad.
So that's
I don't go to these lengths of emotions where I feel really sad because I don't really have attachments to most things.
There's guilt. There's a lot of guilt going on in that entire scene. Like Soul is acting weird. There's more going on there, as we know.
We also he saw May die. So when May falls in the shaft and the fire and all that stuff,
yeah,
that's not really shown essentially.
No,
it's very Hitchcockian. It's it happened.
Yeah, it's very because we know because you write yourself in that bit of a corner where you have to make it look that no one would believe that you survived, and yet there has to be a way to survive.
I thought Soul was gonna catch Osha and force hold May and be I can't.
I did too.
Do both.
I was
thought
it was
going to be cliffhanger. You wanted
Grant
Sylvester Stallone's cliffhanger.
So, I mean, who doesn't?
Basically. Yeah.
No, but I'm right there with you. I had the same exact thought where I thought he was going to be holding both of them, or force holding one, or there was going to be that choice.
There's a nice reveal of he caught someone, and then it's obviously Osha.
Yeah,
she's close.
Yeah. Also, Torben during the scene where May wakes up, or Osha wakes up in the ship, Torben's standing there, but he's not in focus in the background. Did either of you? I want to zoom in. Did either of you take a look at him when he was standing back there?
Wait, so after he snapped out of being possessed, he looked kind of upset that the Jedi didn't intervene and they allowed that.
He was shook. Well, that tracks.
He was,
that tracks because he saw what's up, and then ultimately, he was not really pleased about that whole situation. So that tracks. But they were probably trying to hide him and blur
Jedi
him.
afraid like that was kind of cool. I was that is neat. Because the High Republic was chasing that right away, but they were we want to see what
Jedi look
like.
What
so
gives the Jedi fear.
Yeah. I'm watching this scene again, and in the era of high def, everything is in focus, field of focus, right? You can just see this. If you watch that scene, I'm watching it right now. Torben is specifically not in focus at all. So he's missing that eye. Like, you remember, like, we've seen him all scarred up. So, like, they're gonna show him, like, he clearly, like, that didn't happen from a fire, right? Like, so I'm guessing one of his fellow Jedi. Well, I think he was possessed. I think he was possessed, and I think that's.
What if May grabs his lightsaber like she's trying to grab so many lightsabers in the show, and it's like gets his eye and stuff.
There you go. Yep, and maybe that sets him off, or maybe he. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
She's like, this works. I just take their saber, get them.
I wonder if like she wants a saber because then she can challenge her master. Because she seems pretty strong with the Force. She's no slouch, but I guess she was overmatched by pretty much everyone else.
Right.
Except for Torben. But Torben let his guard down too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this was a fun development.
So much like
we needed this, I think. We needed some unveiling.
Talk about what happened. Talk about lore bomb. This was like
this is a
giant lore bomb.
I'm like, first 2 episodes, I was kind of like, okay, all right, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still like reserving judgment, and I feel like now I'm all in. Like, I feel like this is the episode. I'm like, yep, nope, totally dialed in, love it, let's do it.
It was just so artfully done, like the relationship where like it, like honestly, I couldn't like not separate the POVs, and I was just like, we always get the Jedi POV in these situations. And it always looks like if you didn't see the background story, it's like this was the episode that gave you the background story from the other side and like what it really was like to empathize with those people.
Yeah. What you're talking about, I thought this was going to go in a way darker direction where the Jedi were basically infiltrating what is a sort of like dark force using faction that maybe has committed, violence against other citizens of the galaxy, and the Jedi are just simply enforcing and
they're just minding their own business and creating human beings from the Force.
Right. That's all.
Yeah, that's not wrong with that. But who's to say that's their magic or their whatever they've discovered?
Right. But they don't even know that. But like, Ben, you're absolutely right. Like, that's, I think what I really love about this is like they're able to thread that needle that should be impossible to thread. Where I'm like, I watch this episode, I'm like, totally get the witch's perspective, and the Jedi still come out in this episode from this perspective clean.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think they're clean. Like, I don't think they overstepped, they didn't whatever. Like, it'll be interesting. Like, I appreciated that. Yeah. Yeah. They made me think about it. Like, to actually like almost change my mind in this series, right? Where it should be dark side focused, where I'm like, no, I think the Jedi are kind of okay with taking kids.
That's why I was really worried about some sort of like weak swing where it's like, a couple Jedi effed up, and maybe they will, like TBD, to be determined. But so far they're like exactly like they're the Jedi who are the Jedi, But it was just like through a different perspective, and I feel like that story is never told in anything that I see ever, and it's really poignant right now, and like I think that's very cool.
Yeah,
They should preserve life. I think that's just kind of in their doctrine, like to promote, support, preserve life.
Yeah. I wish there was a bit more empathy with this.
Like Superman, how dark can you go? Really, like it's not. Yeah, the High Republic explores a spectrum of sort of morality in the Jedi and what certain Jedi are willing to do.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine if there was actually a group.
None of that was set up right away, except for Vernestra, who give me a lot of foreboding feelings about maybe
something's still up with her.
The records or something.
Yeah.
Just like Kamir is like probably the guy in the helmet. Yeah. Like it's just like he's so Palpatine when you rewatch that episode. You like rewatch the episode a few times. You're like, is this just a new version of Palpatine that I just adore? I'm like, this is great if that's what they're doing. This sort of like sneaky,
I'd put money on that.
Jack of all trades character that's in your ear at all times and guiding you on the mission and sort of manipulating events.
Yeah, it's wild, man. This was a chunky third episode too. I didn't see how long it was, but it felt like 42, 43 minutes.
Yeah, it was right. I always check at the beginning because I need to know, because my brain starts clocking where I'm almost like, wait, is this now we're gonna fade out? No, we're gonna fade back in.
Fade back in.
Out.
Fade
this
back
episode,
in. Yeah.
So like, I need to know at the beginning of an episode how long is this? Not that I'm checking my watch, but like I can feel. Like you know what I mean? Like okay,
I like going for the adventure though. I was just like my phone was blowing up, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know how close to the end I am right now, and I don't want to check it.
I probably texted you.
Yeah.
So I probably should have texted.
I think
I texted
fine.
first. It's just very funny because I started exactly at 9. Like I refreshed at 9. I'm like, it's good. We're going. We're good to go.
Yeah.
So I think it was exactly. I think it was 45 minutes when I clicked it, which you take out about 5 minutes of credits. So it's probably right around 40 minutes, which I think was the right length. I will say, just the question I have for both of you is, in many ways, this is not the show, as Leslie Headland told us, that we thought we'd get in terms of in terms of like, we've had very little dark side stuff in 3 of the 8 episodes of The Acolyte. How are you all feeling about that?
I think it's subversively there. Like, I think there's Sith elements that are sort of unsaid going on, maybe with May in her current story, like the master, essentially. It just feels in the red lightsaber, like that sort of stuff. Like I doubt it's a Knight of Ren or some other faction. I have to think it's Sith, and like maybe a revival or like a renaissance, like an attempt to bring the Sith back. Maybe it's not the actual
it could be
Sith
a pretender
or whatever you think that that would mean.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's Sith. But I think it's just not. We're not there yet. There's going to be. It's a slow build. It's a nice slow build.
Yeah, I love that, Grant, and I love the idea that like, if the Sith are secret, and you're a dark side Force wielder, and you have friends who are dark side Force wielders, you're like, we're the Sith. I mean, if you know anything about it,
good
right? Point. Yeah, right. Like we're the Sith, and like how common should that be? These are the things. Like it's just that part of science for some reason I hang up on. That's just like, no, the galaxy is larger than we can comprehend. There can be in a random sequence of this large of energies, you can get 2 in a row. Like it's Yeah.
There's also the pieces of line from Khmer, which is just Sith code essentially.
Yeah. Oh, pieces of lie. Yeah. Oh, definitely Sith code. No.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
like, it's just there. What's fun about it is it's like the Andor element. It's kind of like the secret element of the show. It's sort of like this clandestine thing that's like, we are not going to get into this just yet, but get ready.
It's coming.
You're going to get a cool Sith sort of
it's seated in
Grant,
there.
I'm on your team full with he's actually the guy.
We're
Khmer. It's just too Palpatine-esque.
Yeah,
his name's too awesome to not be a Sith. Like Darth Chimera is like.
Well, he's gonna be someone. You don't throw that out. So we're aligned in that. Like I'm also loving it because I feel like it's sprinkled in there. It's like we're getting a little bit. I love this idea of like if you're talking about like if it is the Sith, there's going to be cells, right? They're not going to be like terror cells. They're not going to like tell everyone or intelligence cells of like who everyone is, right? So like
they don't all
like,
know
May's
each other. That's
like,
racist.
They don't know. Like exactly. But I always bet too heavily. It's like I play roulette the wrong way. I'm like I bet on a single number.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what's every my time. Lowest odds?
But one of these days I'm gonna like hit it. I'm gonna look like a genius, even though I was like I missed it 99 times. In a
Dance
row.
like no one is watching.
I think it's Sith possession, and so I think they get to get their cake and eat it too. Where it's just like I really do wonder if that mask is just a Sith artifact with a Sith possession in it, and then you get this idea of being able to like, yes, it is a Sith, but it's like a Sith that was resurrected, so we haven't actually seen the Sith. Like
I love
my
that.
brain is doing the thing. So like it's very Mommin, right?
Yeah, that's layers on layers on layers. I like that, and I mean that's precedented for the show because I feel like they're peeling a lot of layers back, or there's a lot.
You
of
don't think it being Khmer isn't cool? Like I feel.
I love it could be Khmer, but
cool.
I don't know. I feel like part of me feels like Leslie Headland. I'm like calling her by her first name, which is clear to me that makes her like prime level Star Wars storyteller. If I start calling you by your
first
name,
like Christopher Nolan, you just say the full name.
It's Leslie Headland.
Leslie you deeply respect.
Like Leslie Headland, I feel like respects old EU too much to F around with it too much. Even though I'm fine personally, like I'm fine messing around with it. It's fine. I'm not. But like everything she says, that it feels like she's not going to mess around with Darth Plagueis and all the other ones to introduce a new Darth in this part. So I feel like it's got to be this like side thing, right? That like
I'm
we're
still
not
hopeful
actually.
it's like a weird Sith species or something like from the EU.
You guys are so hardcore. I love it.
Great.
Because
I love that.
me,
I love that so much. Never going to happen.
Me, makes sense for May, who I think wanted to belong to family, and that could be all about blood and family, and the Sith doctrine being this magic that's come through that this person's family, and he'll teach it to the acolytes. The acolytes can learn about it, but they're hopefuls, have to earn his trust.
I do love that idea. Like, doesn't
whatever.
it feel
I don't know.
Like if we're telling us like old school, like it almost feels like puritanical. Like this whole episode felt like the Crucible or like something else, right? So I feel like you're almost like someone. Here's the thing: I don't want to take the power away from the witches, so this may be reductive, but like this idea of just like not that they sold their soul, but someone like promised them like, oh, I can give you what you're looking for, and taught them this, right? Like maybe a Plagueis or someone else, like use them as a way to test this idea of
it could be just
life.
like what Ben was saying. They're like fringer sort of dark side Force users, just hang out, and there's little Sith collectives, and they're
degens of the Sith community. Sorry, it's a Kilkenny reference for anyone.
Toxic, it's just the toxic little collectives that form.
Yeah,
it is weird though, right? With like there are clearly darksiders out there. There's people that understand it. There's people that are interested in it. Okay. All right. Sorry to bum us all out. We're just past the hour mark. So like time to like bum us all out. But like, so like, okay. All right. Sorry to do this. So there's a lot of sects of neo-Nazis across the world.
Here we go.
Right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Right.
Just kidding.
People identify with the quote unquote philosophy of that. Right. And then label themselves as such. So my point is to step away from that as quickly as possible, because we're going to talk about neo-Nazis
they don't need any publicity.
They don't need it. They got way too much as is currently anyway. But like or ever. But my point is that like it's weird to me that more people don't just self-identify as Sith.
Right.
Right? Like in the galaxy, you're just like, yeah, I'm totally a Sith, and I created this little Sith collective, and it's like a bunch of people.
Yeah, but it like if word gets out that you're a Sith and it gets back to the actual Sith, you're dead. Like that. I guess
that's the point. There you go, Ben.
Ooh,
that's
there's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. You don't want to front. You don't want to front like that.
Spot
all right.
on.
So going back to Adam's original question, I think that something. Why haven't we seen more Sith? Something.
Oh, yeah.
I think this movie is. I mean, the plot is moving so quickly right now. There could be like the back half could just be Sith POV.
I love it
because it's a twin show. So like maybe this is the Osha half, and then we get the May half.
We get the May half. Oh yeah. Oh, I wonder about that. This is the show. What I'm loving about the show is of all of the series that we watched, this is the one that I'm just like, I really don't know what the next 5 episodes hold for us. And I have thoughts, but they really could go in any direction. So yeah.
They also introduce information about this, immaculate conception, like Force conception, ability that the Sith likely want to possess. That they want this knowledge essentially. So like I'm guessing that might be the sort of the greeting for the Sith essentially. It's like they're about that information, and maybe that's a side plot. Maybe I don't know, because they really didn't answer why the records on Brendok are erased in the Jedi archives, or why Torben, drank the poison, or how he got the scar, or any of that stuff. There's a lot that's just not here yet that I'm dying to understand, because it's like why is it erased from the records?
Right.
I don't understand that.
No, there's a lot that has not been answered. Again,
it's a larger conspiracy. That's some deep state stuff. Sorry.
There's a line from the trailers where I think Vernestra Rose says that there's something bigger going on right here, and
she's very politically minded about this situation. A very damage control mode for Nestra, which is wild.
I keep getting the feeling from the show that, and it's basically exactly that line, and everything that Leslie Headland has said is just like I feel like there's a level that we're not aware of going on in the show, and so that we're going to get exposed to at some point.
Now.
Go for it, please.
Spout a theory here.
Yes.
The dance, there seems to be some sort of chant going on that's like there's one, and then better than one is two, or something.
Then there's
the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Is the chant.
I was like, is this about, even if they're not explicitly a dyad and it's said, and I really don't even think it needs to be said. I just think some stories we know it's a major sort of plot element, but I think you're right. Even if they're not explicitly called a dyad, maybe a Sith wants to utilize the twins or something, like try to get them both in one place to do exactly what Palpatine did with Kylo and Rey, essentially, with restoring themselves or gaining ultimate power or whatever.
The chant is super awkward, taken out of whatever context it is, to the point where I bumped up against it when I was watching, because it goes the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Like, it just feels like I kept waiting to be like the power of three, the power of four.
Yeah, it was like,
maybe it's because I have
you're gonna count off.
Like it's like the power of one, the power of two, ... the power of many. But like my point is not to poke, right? Like exactly. The point is not to poke fun at that, but like if you're writing that, there's a purpose for that, to go one, two, many, right? So I'm exactly there with you, Grant, is that like they chose to highlight two, they chose to highlight twins. Something is going on there, right? The naming convention of the first two episodes, like it's all about this dyad. Not even to use it again, not to use it. I mean, we can even separate it from the Rise of Skywalker usage of that term.
I could say but
also if Kamir is the sorry, you go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna say the power of two could refer to the Sith.
Right.
Not necessarily a dyad, but always
good point.
Two there are.
No, but the rule of two, right? Which isn't like all of this stuff is all wrapped together. Like the rule of two, the prophecy, the chosen one prophecy, and the dyad stuff is all wrapped together in this weird different readings of certain things.
That is some deep lore, man.
Can I also just connect something to this idea,
which is Leslie Headland's jam.
We talked about it last week, like how Osha goes in to sort of spy on Chimere before the arrest, sort of engage in a conversation.
Yeah.
And then, like, we talked about, like, when Chimere recognizes that it's not me, or something. I forget what we're talking about. But I was like, in that moment, it also feels like, is he actually seeking this Osha as well? Like, does
he know there is an Osha?
It felt like you look just like her. Why would you make that comment unless you're sort of this? Stargazing dark side manipulator on the outside who's sort of like
no, you're right, that's huge.
Everyone in this matter, and you guys are a dyad. Like there is another.
He's far too confident to be an acolyte. He's too confident to be an acolyte. You're right. Like
I agree. There's more. He's also like a known entity actor wise. Like I feel like so it almost reminds me of to bring in another sci-fi work, but the Foundation series by Asimov, right? You have this character called spoiler alert to a book that's 60 years old, 70 years old at this point. But like you have a character that's called like the Fool, and is this like this he's referred to as a mutant, not my turn. They paint him like Quasimodo basically. And he looks like this, and you find out at the end that he's just like the mastermind behind the whole thing. Right. So I feel like you cast an actor who played a fool character in a TV show for 7 years or however long he was on The Good Place as Jason, as this like, as you're just planting it in the brain of the viewers to be like, Fly Guy's really funny.
Yeah,
He's
I
a
can't
really
take this
goofy
guy
dude.
seriously.
And then suddenly, like 5 episodes in, you're like, no, he's the mastermind,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think there's so much levels going on, and like if you look at the casting that Leslie Headland and the other people have been doing, she's pulling from a roster of people that's really interesting and actor-wise. Like every cast decision is a decision.
Every time I watch Squid
Casting's
Game, I'm
incredible.
going to be like, well, he's just using the Force. That's Master Soul.
I know. So I did not watch Squid Game, and now I don't feel like I can.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh, he's just using the Force.
Yeah. I just want to hit on again. We've talked about it like 4 times already tonight, but I'm still just blown away that in a live action canon Star Wars show or whatever, like live action, we have a reference to another Versions in the Force, whether it's true or not.
It's amazing.
But like it's wild. It's to me, it's wild that they allowed, and by allow, but you know what I mean. Like the story group was just like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the one thing I thought was like buried and covered in red tape and was just like,
Right?
we don't talk about this.
Yes.
And we leave it a mystery because it would kind of reveal that Palpatine is Anakin's father in a weird way.
But
like,
it's really just fueling
that
the
George
fire.
had written this, like George had just redacted
Yes.
the script like days, like minutes before shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, he was explicitly going to be a father-esque character to Anakin.
Yeah.
And then it was taken away and left a mystery. And then the Plagueis books like doubled down on this idea of creating life with the Force.
Yeah.
And
But then technically wiped out of canon.
Yeah.
Like those
So-
technically
but-
are canon.
wiped out. Now it's
but it
canon.
fueled the
Back
debate,
now.
right? So now we don't really know. Was he made with the Force? We know that Sewell kind of teased that in the Darth Vader comic.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
like, or was
Comic
it just, or was it a pure Vergence?
And that comic does it beautifully, right? Where it's like, it could be this way and it could be that way. But then now that you know it actually
of that.
completely exists, this like ability,
Yeah.
like to what Adam's saying here, this
it
is
could have been that.
huge. This
Yeah.
is-
If it's not going to be a slight rug pull,
Yeah.
right? Like again, we don't know. I hope they give us this. Like that'd be really neat to be like, yeah, no, you can create life with the Force.
Yeah.
Dot
It is known.
you know, do your own math.
I think, yeah,
You know,
Filoni
think about it
gave
for a
the
while.
antithesis to that, where I think I'm trying. Oh my gosh! Now my head is just full of all Star Wars, and I can't find the thing.
Okay.
The Mortis arc, like the Mortis gods. The father was like, he didn't pull him in because he was just some random like concoction of the Sith. Like he pulled him in because he was the chosen one, and who was like a real version of the Force. or maybe he did. You know, like but I love that it's like could be a philosophical debate. And they aren't really answering it. I think that's kind of like that's a dichotomy.
I don't know.
That's a dialogue there. That's fun.
There's part of me that loves the idea, and maybe it's from reading so much Dune, which will just do like 5,000 year time jumps, where I'm just like, I kind of love the idea that both things are true in that, like, so the Sith created Anakin destroyed the Jedi, but Anakin's son ended up wiping out the rest of the Sith. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then like also like Palpatine's granddaughter, like this idea of just like this like domino you can't even follow, ends up leading to the ultimate destruction of the Sith. Right?
Yeah.
Like just like, I
Luke
kind of love
destroys
that. Like,
the Sith, which creates like the guy that's not quite dead's daughter to be born, which like we're back and forth.
Like
Because
just leads again,
the,
like
the rise and the fall of the Empire and the period in between just feels so high drama and operatic because it's like there's an emperor and there's this tortured underling who is going to destroy him and take down the Sith eventually, but in like a 30-year long empire. It's like,
yeah, I know, 30 years.
long
I'm like, all right.
I want to bring one more thing up real quick. Just like,
do it.
no, it's not going to be quick. The Jedi are all like, we don't feel, they don't believe in loss. So it's people passing the Force, have no attachment. I mean, they do. They're caring and they whatever.
Yeah,
but like, if they really lived,
I don't know if are they really caring, because like when Torben gets possessed, they do nothing.
They're like, well, that
I guess they just argue it.
Well, okay, but I mean, there's other times. I mean, I'm just saying they're very emotional and they're very attached.
Soul seems pretty emotional,
and we've seen that especially in the High Republic, and maybe that's the big change that we're going to see from then. You know, the High Republic period to the like Skywalker saga period. But like, can you imagine a Jedi that actually believed that, like, actually practiced what they preached? And we're just like without fear of loss, and like they would be essentially an emotionless like cult. Like it would be really weird.
It would be, and I'm sure there are. Like Indara seems somewhat.
She
like
does,
that, right? Like I feel like we get all those different levels, and Soul seems like the most emotional of all of them. And Indara. The other thing too is like we got to a point of just like in that spaceship. Soul saying, you can be my Padawan if you want. Like, totally. Like, you're an 8-year-old kid. It's all good. You'll be my Padawan. To 100 years later, no, this kid is 8 and cannot be trained. Not.
Well, I mean, that might be the reference, right?
I think that's right. Like, I think they're kind of setting up that long-term reference is that, like, this is the big mistake, right? I'm just like, no, we cannot take kids past a certain age because of attachment.
Is there more backstory here where it's like, why is Soul even tracking these kids in the first place? Yeah. Is there some sort of did the Force call the Jedi to that planet? Like,
why are they breaking down doors and boundaries and stuff to get in there? Like, like why are they
just to get to these two kids? It's like I imagine there's like lots of kids being in harm's way all over the galaxy.
Maybe they sense divergence in the Force, and they're like, "What's going on?"
4 Jedi sent for 2 kids. It's just
I have no 3 Jedi and a Padawan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, if
technically, and like a weak Padawan because he could be possessed. I'm just saying. Like, can we just say the Torben? He's like weak sauce.
Torben, I love that dude.
I'm kidding. I just felt so bad for him. Because basically this happens and he just like decides to not talk for however long and take the bear's vow. So the kid had a rough life. If you like,
and then he grew that beard.
If you break it down. That beard. What I was gonna say is
he prayed himself Amish.
Nope, it's gone.
He also says because we thought when he does wake up from the bearish vow, he says we thought we were doing the right thing. We
don't know. We. Oh, so this is what I'm gonna say is this show, and I don't like to do this like busting other things down that raise this up, so I'm not gonna name names. But it's gonna be pretty obvious. The second one I'm about to say is this is how you do the mystery box right so far. We'll see how the season ends, but like you build it out, but you also provide clues and move things on. Where like again, my thing about this episode is you end this episode and you're like, that was a satisfying story that told me everything I needed to. Wait a minute. What about this? What about this? What about this? In a really thoughtful way. I'm just like we're an hour and 15 hour into this podcast. And we're just like, wait a minute. Why were the Jedi even there in the first place? Right? We didn't ask that question until an hour into discussing this episode. That's brilliant, right? That's the way you set this up.
We're like a true crime podcast now. Like this is fun.
Where were the cell phone towers? Maybe we can triangulate based on the ping. Sorry.
I can't wait
way too much serial season 1.
Leslie to turn the prism and let us view through a new lens in future episodes, because I agree with you. I think that there's stuff just like left out that you're just like, I need to know why this is this situation. Like there's not enough May POV like you're talking about. This was very Osha heavy, and I loved it and beautiful story, but I just feel like May is almost missing from certain moments in the story, or just it felt so neglectful of sort of what her interests and motivations are and what she likes about the Coven, instead of just tailing along to everything. I don't know. It's just I'm interested to see more about May and what she thinks and what she wants.
I was also going to say May and Osha were played by real life twins.
Yes, those actresses were fantastic.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, they were so good, but they're so good that at times it was like, I don't know, it's some pretty shoddy special effects, and I'm like, nope, they're real twins. People. It wasn't like
when they walked by in the woods, like one of them walked by the other, and I was like waiting to see some like compositing, like edges or like
their faces are very different actually.
Nope, they're twins.
Yeah, I have face behind this, so I.
Oh really? Okay.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
not like legit, but kind of legit. I've taken the test.
At a distance, you can't tell, but when they do close-ups, you're like, okay, that's definitely.
Yeah.
Osha.
I started to clue in about halfway through. They're like they had certain mannerisms. They were slightly different, and I think beneficial to the characters, right? Like they looked really close, but you could see like, oh, like I was clued in by the end. I'm like, oh, that's May.
And that was so fun about the episode, how Osha argues that we're different. Like we're different people. We're unique.
Now,
and
no, okay, never mind.
I like
there's no chance we got like a twin switch right now because they were.
There was a moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, he grabbed the wrong person."
Yeah,
right.
I thought too. Yeah, I thought that's exactly what I thought was the fun way to do this now, since there's no other bigger piece to that set piece moment, is like you got the wrong one essentially.
No, you would have known. May is.
But I think you see
to be like
later.
Why is that Padawan drowning Lothcats like that? No, you would have known.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's like this. That's what I love about Mystery Show, because now I'm just like, now I'm trying to like put together how this could possibly work. But I'm like, no, stop it now, stop it.
But like, but then how does it explain the scene where they see each other on Olega?
Right, exactly.
She's like, Oshi,
and then it also doesn't make sense where like when
it was a vision.
When Osha is waking up, she's saying May.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like it was like it's all of them doesn't. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So like
that's what I love about Mystery Show is you just start going down these like corridors and alcoves.
But that's so fun. That's so fun. This has given us so much to chew on for like, just I was like, oh, this is going to be the pithy, like Kelnock goes to camp sort of like episode, and there wouldn't be anything to talk about. And instead there was like this 300 kiloton gorilla that like they dropped at us in episode 3.
Not what I was expecting at all, but
great lore bomb.
Yeah. I always thought they were going to cut to Kofar and Kelnaka at some point in this episode and like connect it almost, like his belief in like the tree connects to the yellow tree in the beginning, and like connects to the faction and their belief in life as much as their dark side. There's like a life affirming aspect too, and it connects to the Wookiee Jedi. Like I thought there was going to be like a lot of interweaving, but it was like, no, it's like it's a clear story of the twins and their past, which was much needed. So I
was with you. I think like 15 minutes in, they did like a hard cut to black, and I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna tell. Oh no, we're just doing flashbacks. Full flashback episode. All right,
Adam, it does not surprise me.
But the second that happened, I was just like, okay, now I can stop worrying about it. We are not leaving this planet.
No, it kept going, and I was
40 minutes. I can just sit back and enjoy it.
Is this going to be the whole episode? And it just kept going and going, and then it faded to black. I'm like, okay, we're going to come back now at the end, and then like we see Osha on a gurney, and I was like, oh my god. I'm like, all right, you're just going for it.
It's very Return of the King, and then fade to black, and then cut back again to a 10-second.
Yeah,
like
short minute long scene.
I wouldn't say a minute. May saying Osha. I bet you it's less than 15 seconds.
All right. Love it.
Which is to me fascinating. Like I watched that and I'm like, oh, so you cut back because she says Osha and then it cuts to black and I'm like, I guarantee you a dark side voice. I guarantee you a voice responded to her in that scene. Someone said something back to her and they cut out immediately because we're gonna get her side where it's just like. It's the master.
Have we figured this out? Do we know Star Wars now? Do we understand it? Because I'm feeling really confident with Grant's prediction about Chimere being the master. I'm feeling really confident about the first 4 episodes being Osha, the second 4 episodes being May. I'm feeling also confident about that prediction that you just made, Adam, where it's like that's what I mean. That would pair into it for the second 4. We're going to do like a triptych. We're going to go back and run through this time period again, but all from like May's POV.
Yeah, they'll probably cut from when.
But is it Korra or is Chimere in the cult, in the coven, but he's maybe off in the corner or something watching what's happening?
I think he's watching from afar.
Is he
like
one of
those
robed individuals?
I think he's just like the Jedi.
How old is he?
Like he has force tabs on this Virgins or whatever. He's like watching what they're doing, and then he's watching the Jedi. It's like spy versus spy, right? Like the Jedi are moving in, but he's moving in behind them, and then like he comes in and causes destruction to blame it on the Jedi or whatever. And then makes off with a kid.
Who's to say Chimera is the master?
well-
like just like in the prequels, like there are always two there
Yeah.
are. How do we know this is the master or the apprentice? Like every time I see someone with a red
Right.
lightsaber, I'm like,
How-
nope, I don't know if you're the master or the apprentice,
No,
honestly.
I'm with that. Like
yeah.
that's from my last prediction where I'm like, I really think the master is the apprentice. Like you think you're you're the apprentice to the master. You're
Yeah,
not.
that could be a cool ending entire thing.
Because that's the thing. I feel like watching Leslie Headland is that she's willing to invert stuff, but also just be like, no, like this is Star Wars. We're just going to do it this way, and almost like doing it how you expect it is the inversion, right? Because at this point you're like waiting for them to take a twist and be like, no, the apprentice is the master. We're used to this. Like you should have seen this coming, dummy. So how old is May/Osha? They are
8.
They're 8 plus 16, 24. So 24 when we see them in this.
Yeah.
So if we go by like real world age of the actor, he is 14 years older. So he would have been 22 at the time. No, he would have been
Who's he?
Chimera. No, what's his name?
Oh no, you're right. You're right. You're right. That's a. I'm so
If
sorry
Chimera
that
is the masked man.
That's a dumb overlook by me. But I feel like a master.
But he would have been the right age to be an apprentice.
Right.
Right. Which he could then be the master by the time
Yeah, but that'd be really tricky.
we see him again.
Or he could be so abused by the system where he's like, oh yeah, we serve the master, but he's also the helmeted guy controlling her, but like they serve he still serves he's still subservient to some other master
Or-
essentially.
And it could be like a Dread Pirate Roberts master.
Right.
Yeah, like yeah, it's
Princess
just like
Bride.
it's almost
Anybody?
like a,
Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I know you two know it, but like to our listeners,
okay. Speak to it.
watch The Princess Bride. It's a great movie.
I was gonna say, like, there's like a clear, like, this is like totally now. Like now we're gonna go into like hour 2 of the Star Wars podcast where I just derail us. But like, what is the Venn diagram between Star Wars fans and Princess Bride fans? It's got to be like a circle, right? Like pretty close to a circle.
Actually,
Like,
you know what it is?
circle?
It's exactly like the logo for Acolyte. It's like the two almost concentric
Right,
rings.
like, yeah, almost. There's a couple, but like most people love both. Grant, what's your feelings? No judgment. What's your standing on Princess Bride?
one of the greatest films of all time.
Okay.
It's okay if you didn't like it. I just wanted to check
Oh,
you're
incredible. No,
not to give out
absolutely.
ages, but Grant's the younger
that's just-
of us. And so
right.
sometimes I like to. I do like the generational questions.
You
Like,
never
I grew
watched
up like
wait, what was Fred Savage's movie or show?
Wonder Years.
Oh yeah, Wonder Years.
Yeah, Wonder Years.
I was
Working?
thinking about
The
different
like
Doogie
you killed my
Howser.
father's speech is like one of the greatest speeches of all
Oh
time.
yeah, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah.
Yeah, no, legendary
Anyway,
movie.
we can move
Okay,
along.
good.
But I was just curious.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that was that didn't last an
I'm
hour
glad
at all actually.
No, but it's now the nonsense hour.
Yeah. I'm still hopeful for a Plagueis or a Tenebris or some low hanging nonsense.
I want a Tenebris reveal in episode 8.
I know.
like last episode.
Like
last
when
5
they reveal
minutes.
that they're not the master, they're the apprentice. There's a Sith Bith.
Yeah. There's someone out there. It's a Sith Beth. It's a moon.
So they are talking up how big of a hit this is for Disney Plus right now on the socials, which I'm like part of me is all just like, this is all just magic and nonsense, right? In terms of just like what's a hit and what's not in the era of streaming. It's like whatever's it, they tell us what's a hit. They manifest it.
I mean,
right?
it's probably
So like I don't
before this, so
I assume. I don't know. I don't know.
The only thing that's
But
hitting
my point
in
is just like,
streaming right now is Star Wars movies. Like,
yeah, I mean, the
Star Wars
numbers
shows,
that they
yeah.
decide to give us seem to show, but I'm also like, they're giving us the numbers that they can just like, boop, 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 here's the numbers. Like
Okay.
it's like, just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So part of
really
what
good
I'm saying is
storytelling.
that like, boy, it feels like they're setting us up for like, this is a monster hit. Here's season 2. So like, I feel like this might be presented as, oh, you get this standalone thing, and then there's going to be a giant, not cliffhanger, but just like, yeah, you get a Tenebris moment of just like, And then season 2 coming in 2026. You know, yeah, like which I'm all for. Like I love it. Like I really hope what they're doing is just doing. And I do think it is doing really well based on the socials, based on everything going on online. Which I mean, who knows what that's worth? But like it seems to be.
I made the mistake
something.
of I was like trying to catch up on old interviews with Leslie Headland that came out in the past week. Official interviews. I saw the one with Filoni that was lovely. Like Leslie Headland is a hardcore. That's how we pronounce it in New Hampshire where I grew up. It was hardcore. She's a hardcore Star Wars fan. She's like, I mean, she got Princess Leia tattooed on her wedding hand.
Stop. For everyone else, Ben just said hardcore. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Like literally, I had to stop.
Sorry, translate power hick to
stop. Yeah. And then you said a word that was equally complex.
Yeah.
For me.
It took me, a New Englander, born and bred. It took me a second to be like, oh, he's saying hardcore.
No, it was a very distinct dialect in my town, and
north.
it just came from like one guy that just talked like. But like, it was I love everyone from New Hampshire and Tilton, and it'll always be in my blood. Anyways, but we spoke weird and it was fun.
Sorry.
We had our own secret language. It was great.
It's wonderful. I love New England. It's
I mean, she is a real Star Wars fan. I mean, like she tattooed Princess Leia on her writing hand to do this.
Yep.
She like gets it. She is just so. She was talking about like one of the interviews. She's talking about she made her own RPG campaigns during the pandemic. Yeah. So she's done exactly what we've done. Like she is our people.
I was like, I need to compare notes right now because there are so many factions.
She writes her own fanfic. Like,
is there a canon symbol for Incom Corporation?
Real talk. These are the questions we need to know. Leslie, please come on our podcast. We love you. Oh my god. But yeah, no, she's just fantastic. It's great. But anyway, so I was like, I just Googled. I'm like trying to find it. Don't do that. Just. I don't want to even give the hate the like publicity, but don't do that because oh my god, the things I saw hurt my heart so much, and it was just like I'm like okay, there's just an underbelly of some very disillusioned people that are just like activated by the word woke now, and it's like it's sad. It's really sad, and I just couldn't believe all.
I know.
Are you giving air to said toxic people?
I'm saying Star Wars is great and Acolyte's great.
I'm just saying it's a thing and it's dumb.
I'm just saying it's there. Yeah. You're right. I shouldn't be saying anything about it.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
And I was like, okay,
we levitate a rock and we drop it right on top of that.
It's a reality that's there. And by the way, I'll just say if our listeners know if you're someone who subscribes to those beliefs, you can just
turn us off.
Can I swear? Yeah, you can just turn us off.
Yeah,
you just turn us off.
You clearly have plenty of other options that might make it's so sad.
Ben have to bleep us.
Yeah.
But you can just turn us off. Go listen to something else, please.
Yeah.
As I said to whatever other listeners to when I said the word cisgendered, and then he decided to tweet at us about it. I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way." And if that's how you feel, I'm sorry.
I already feel bad about bringing it up. I don't know why I did. I was like, no airtime, and then I was like, but another thing.
It's hard. Yeah. It's really frustrating to read that stuff and not wanting to be like, but I'm like, it's just so.
So, anyways,
dumb.
I'm very pleased to hear that it's doing well and it's well received because I adore this show. I think it's fantastic. It's brand new. It's fresh. Yeah. It's doing really cool new Star Wars things. That's all I could ever ask for. And the acting's fantastic, and I have no idea what's going to happen next, except for those two things.
That's where I'm at with it.
Perfect summation.
Yeah. But even if everything happens that Grant predicted, it didn't feel telegraphed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
it just felt like we had a Grant in our pocket, and he was able to just be like, "It's gonna be this," and then like honestly, it's about time. Yeah. Because like I love all of Grant's prophecies or ideas and like theories and things like that.
Gotta eventually be
real
right.
talk, man. Real talk.
No.
That would be a wild turn.
Think a lot of the creators are. I just come up with brilliant ideas that I'm honestly like just. You
have a lot of great take grants. Don't sell yourself short, and I always love them. In there, and the wilder they are, the more fun, the more I enjoy them.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. That is directly proportional to how much enjoyment I get.
Star Wars is a pretty special thing. There's lots to imagine there, and lots that has not yet been imagined. So. There's so much.
We're grateful for your imagination and everyone else's.
But I don't want to take ownership of any theories. I'm sure lots of people have caught on to this idea or many of the ideas we've discussed.
I don't know.
Sure.
I only listened to a few podcasts.
Thing, it's like, of course, someone is spying on this coven and trying to learn this knowledge. And convenient, the entire coven is taken out. And really, all you need for that, like, again, the tattoo on May's forehead, is this a codec containing this sort of this spell, right?
I
like
love that
ability,
idea,
right? And like, is that all the Sith need? Is just that symbol and what's ingrained there? Like, to me, there's more going on visually than we're giving credit. So like, when Adam poses the question,
there's hints everywhere.
Are you guys confused as to why there's not enough Sith red lightsaber, just like Sith lore, being explored here? And I'm like, I think there is. It's just visual. It's just really there. All motion picture language.
That's the difference between Grant and me. Because I'm just like, oh, cool tattoo, and Grant's like, I wonder if that's a codec.
Is there information in there?
I'm just saying.
Just saying. Indiana Jones, like,
I know. I'm surprisingly dumb about stuff, but no, I love that. Of course, I'm like, it's like you said it. I'm like, oh, of course it is. Of course, the tattoo has meaning.
It's like a spinning spiral, like a vinyl record or something. It's like or a DVD.
Right. Pretty intricate, honestly.
She's got a laser disc on her forehead now.
A laser disc, yeah.
A laser sword disc.
Star Wars Laserdisc, the last, the most up-resed version of unaltered Star Wars that you can get is the Laserdisc. Yeah.
Dare to dream. Someday we'll.
I used to own it, and I don't anymore.
Did you have a
Laserdisc
player? Were you rich?
No, in 1999 at the Rentham outlets, there was it wasn't Rentham outlets, but it was anyway, it was there was some garage giant, like, it's a giant flea market.
Sure.
Someone had the late 1990s
special edition
mid-1990s Star Wars Laserdisc. No, pre special edition.
That's gold.
So it was
gold.
So it. Anytime, and I lost it along the way in many, many moves. I'd never owned a Laserdisc, but I bought it because I'm like, it was like $5.
No
it was $5 because who was Laserdisc?
Gosh.
So I bought it because I'm like, this is cool. And it, Laserdisc looks great. Yeah. It was like a record. It was like an LP. So I just I had it framed, lost it. But like, those things were great because that is the highest up-res version of pre-special edition
trilogy.
OG.
You know how many people
trilogy
are fighting to create a digital, like, high-quality digital version of the original trilogy?
It's the closest you can get. It's still not quite. I think it's at like 720 maybe was Laserdisc. Was it 480 or 720? But it was, not quite, but whatever.
It'd be hilarious.
Pretty good.
It was like 480.
Yes. If you have found online illegally versions of the original trilogy that's not altered, generally it is the Laserdisc.
I have an altered version. I have a version someone cobbled together in the dark web or something.
Those are popular. I have those as well. Those are pretty popular. Yeah, where they've the de-specialized editions. Those are referred to as.
Exactly. All right, we're just pattering on.
I'm telling you, it's hour 2. We're talking about random stuff.
It could just
anything else. I don't want to stifle any creativity here. We wouldn't want to.
No, please stop.
Anything else? Grantham. I assume that's your full name.
No, I have nothing else to
add. Far out. This was great. This is really fun. Let's do it again next week. I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
I know. I'm gonna miss you guys next week.
Oh, it's
all you. I'm out. Right. I'm out of town.
Oh yeah.
I'm in California. I'm California band. I will maybe if I think about it and I have the ability, maybe I'll upload some on the ground Galaxy Edge content.
Nice. So you'll be at Left Coast
to our YouTubes. I'll be at Left Coast. I'm fascinated to see the differences. I think it's identical except for when you walk in. But I've sadly been to original East Coast Galaxy Edge enough that I'll be able to probably tell the minuscule differences.
Take notes. Yeah. I want all the grimy details, and I hope you have a blast. All right.
Thank you.
Until next week, Sagrona and Sagrona
Tima
and
Sagrona Tima.
And hope you had a great time at the bar with us this week, and revel in all the fallout of the episode. And then we'll talk to you next week as quickly as we can on
Cantina Chronicles.